Hello and welcome to 128, episode 128 of Ruse Radio. Happy to have this very special guest up in his house, up in the Ruse stew. Please introduce yourself, ma'am. Who are you?
I am Kelly McG.
Kelly McG. And like, if you were describing yourself, like some random person just hit this video, they got no idea who either of us are. You're introducing yourself to the world. What would you say? Like if you had to wrap it all up.
I'd say I'm somebody who went through a tragedy in my life and it changed me for the better.
Huh. Really?
Yeah.
And what was that tragedy?
Oh, wow.
I mean...
Well, I fell in love with a man and he passed away from a drug overdose. Yeah.
And it's just like, is this how you get into comedy? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it did lead me to comedy.
But not at first? Or like, how does that happen?
Yeah, well, it happened, like 6 years ago now. It was just the 5-year anniversary of his death. But, yeah, we met. I didn't know for 6 months that he had a major problem. Then we worked together to get him sober. He was sober for 3 months, and he relapsed and he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that must have, so that changes your whole life, essentially.
Yeah.
Damn. Wow. Have you ever, like, did you relate to him in that way? Like, did you have a substance issue that, like, helps you relate? Or was you just watching him go through that?
Huh. No. And, you know, I come from an Irish Catholic family. By the grace of God, no drug problems. But there has been some alcoholism on both sides of my parents' families. And this was something that, I never saw coming, but I just lead with my heart, and I fell in love with his heart, and it happened. And he was a great person. He loved the Bible. He could recite the Bible.
Wow.
Yeah, he
really?
was a deep, deep individual.
He could recite the Bible?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And yeah, he was a very interesting person, and I loved him. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so through the grieving process, I suppose, like you end up getting to comedy somehow? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, and that's, it's something that I didn't know how I was going to get through. But I knew I wanted to make something positive out of his loss. And comedy just accidentally turned into something that helped me do that. It's crazy because if you asked me like years before that if I'd ever be doing comedy, I would say no way. You've got the wrong girl. But it was something that I just started watching after during COVID. So, this happened in November of 2019. And then in early 2020 was COVID. And I went and watched some comedy in a park. And I ended up signing up for an open mic. And, the rest was just kind of history from there.
2020, you're saying?
Yeah. So I've been doing comedy now. I'm entering my 5th year of comedy.
Wow. So when you were doing it in 2020 and 2021, was it the same thing though? It wasn't like regular open mics. Weren't they doing those things on Zoom and all this, right?
It was there was comedy out in the open mic comedy that Greg Bartusiak was doing. And so I started watching that. And I started going to a lot of different comedy shows, and I started to become friends with different comedians and going to different open mics. And yeah, you just connect with different people, you make friends, and you keep going out. And I just really fell in love with the whole comedy scene, you know.
Yeah. No, I think I stumbled into it on accident through doing this podcast, which is funny because like it gives me how I think about it too is like, or like how I've been thinking about it is it gives me a way to provide value to those people, like, because otherwise how could I do that? I'm just a musician, like I'm just making my own rap songs. Like I can still turn up at an open mic and like do that, but it gives me a thing to give them, and it makes it more of like a just more of a I don't know the word I'm looking for here, but like a real relationship, I suppose. Like you could put that out there, like it's a relationship that you can see. Like it's a great opportunity to do something like that, and it's cool to have those. And I think what's interesting about the comedy community, with that in mind, is that it's already that way for the most part, anyways. Like when you go to the open mics, everyone's kind of trying to learn from each other and like learn from each other's mistakes. And like if you talk to people, they'll talk to you and they'll follow you back if you follow them and all that. You know, all you have to do is introduce yourself most of the time. Like really, that's all you have to do is just be nice, and then people will be nice back. You know. Yeah. But and then so that's, I think that's like probably more so with. Because I wonder, like I can't remember if anyone's given me a good like rebuttal, but like I wonder if it's like that in other cities, like in rather than Chicago, in LA and New York, if it's as camaraderie, I guess if that's the word. Like if everyone's if everyone works together in the same way. I don't know if it's like that everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like I hear a lot of compliments about Chicago, that we are very communal, very easy to get along with, supportive. People who've moved here, I just met a comedian, he moved here from St. Louis, but he was at the Gazelle Awards, and he was just blown away by how nice everybody was and supportive. And that is the Chicago comedy scene as far as I know it. It's been positive. You meet a lot of great people. And there's a lot of people who want to just be themselves, and it's easy to be an individual in the comedy scene. That's what I like about it. You can move solo. There's a lot of people just moving solo through the world of comedy. It's not a lot of people that are coupled up. And my boyfriend lives in Columbus, Ohio, so I'm spending a lot of time solo doing my thing, and it's the way I prefer to do it. You know, being able to move throughout the city as I please, because there's a lot of things that we can do in one night, and it's exciting, and I love this city.
Yeah. I mean, really, that's the benefit of being in the city, is that you have all those options like right there at your fingertips all the time. Like if you're a musician or if you're a comedian, I feel like, I don't know if I'm right, but I feel like there's more comedy open mics than music open mics. It seems like you can find more if you're looking, but I might just not know where to look. Like I think...
No, I agree.
James Najjar told me I need to look on like maybe Facebook groups. Like maybe if I went on Facebook groups, you could find more open mics. But yeah, there's comedy open mics all over. You can go to like 3 a day if you really want to. Music open mics, I feel like you can maybe find one. Maybe. I might be wrong. Maybe that just means I have to start one. Maybe you have to start more.
So I'm curious, how did you get involved in the comedy scene? You're a rapper. How did that happen?
Before that question is answered, I feel as if I should say it was inevitable for Ruse to end up with these comedians, because musicians, comedians, what do they have in common? If we think about it, what is it that they both do? Well, I can tell you one thing they both do that just came to my brain. and it involves brains, and it's mind-blowing. These people blow minds. Comedians blow minds. Musicians blow minds. It's just what we do. And I think it's natural for all of these arts to come together in such a way. And that's what Ruse Radio tries to do. We try to show you the professional mind blowers of the world. And that's what we are. You watching and the people on this show are all the professional mind blowers of the world, blowing minds one day at a time. So if you want to let the people know that's what you are and that's what you do, then you get yourself a professional mind blower t-shirt. And that's what we're offering you right now. I got smalls, I got mediums, I got larges, and I can make more sizes if you need one. I mean, it's a pretty sick offer, dude. Just saying. It's a pretty great way for you to support this show, which I know you want to do because you love watching this. You love seeing the people. Every 3 days we got a new episode, seeing the people all the time. And if you like that happening and you want to support that but you don't want a t-shirt, well, there's another way you can do that, and that is Patreon, folks. $5 a month, the price of a coffee, the price of a beer at the bar, and you get exclusive content, stuff you would only see on Patreon, including exclusive music content, songs before they even hit the airwaves. I mean, seriously, guys, some songs that'll never hit the airwaves, they'll only be on the Patreon. Another pretty sick offer here from Ruse Radio, and a great way for you to support this program where I get to bring people in, I get to talk to them, I get to expose their brilliance to the world, expose to shine sunlight upon their beautiful soul. What a gift Ruse Radio is. Now, I believe the question was, how did Ruse stumble into the Chicago comedy world?
So what I could have done way before, because I've been in Chicago since June 2023. So about a year and a half as of recording this. And I started going to the open mics in October of last year. So after about a year of being here pretty much. And that's really all I had to do, because right before that, like I had, for one thing, I knew, because I didn't have the right microphone set up or whatever. Like I wanted to have an arm, and I wanted to be able to properly record the guest. If I'm gonna start having people on here, I wanted to do it right. Because before I was using just a regular. It sounded fine because I could mix it, but it was just a regular microphone. It wasn't these Shure SM7Bs are freaking miracle microphones.
Yeah, that's what I use.
They blow my mind. I mean, even for music, I used to use a different microphone. I started using this because it sounds that good. It's just like a smooth mic. But anyway, so I wanted to get all that set up before I did that. But that was my excuse, right? I could have did that way before. And so I went to one open mic, and I guess everything happens for a reason. It all falls into place, because at that point I had pretty much had everything ready, and I remember I go and I just performed. It was the Glenwood, which is nearby where we are now. So the Glenwood is where I went because it was so close. I'm like, oh, I might as well go. I think I saw that it was all arts, but really I was the only person doing music. It was all comedy and then me. But it went so well. It went impossibly well. And that's how it always goes. I'm a miracle maker. I can't explain it. I just have magic in my ways. You know, it's just how it happens. So whenever I do this, I realize I should be doing this all the time. But also, as I do that, I make sure I got business cards. I got a podcast. Oh, you guys want to come on my podcast? Blah, blah, blah. You just have to throw that in their face pretty much.
Yeah.
And actually, I think what helped too was right after I had performed that night, James came up to me, James Najjar, and he said, oh, stick around. I want you to film a skit with me later. I'm like, okay.
Oh, cool.
And so then I filmed a video with him, and then I find out he has 1 million followers on TikTok. I'm like, what? I thought we were just filming a stupid thing, dude. I had no idea the scale of my actions here. But he's a great guy.
He has 1 million followers on TikTok?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and he told me it's all, a lot of it was when it was COVID, so he was just filming funny videos in his apartment, and that's where most of his following came from, was just those stupid videos he was filming. But that's how it happens. Yeah, it's 1 million on there, and then 60,000 on Instagram. Yeah, and he's a great guy. And so that was he's probably the first real introduction I had, because he told me that as soon as I had performed. And he was hosting that night at the Glenwood. But I'm glad, because, James was one of the first people I had on the podcast. It was James, and then, who else? Jake Pita, the deaf comic. And then there was a couple other, Ethan Cohen, Naboo, who runs the Glenwood. And then I'm trying to think. Doctor of Laughter, I had him on for 101. Tim Perez, he's great. But basically, I had all these people in succession, all a bunch of different comics. And I feel like that's all it really takes. Because once enough comics, like say at this point, like some people will reach out to you once you've done enough too. But at this point, like if I reach out to some other person, I say like, hey, this is me, like I do a podcast. They can just look and see, oh, I did a podcast with so-and-so. Because like we said, the Chicago comedy scene's so interconnected.
Yeah.
So I think that's all it took, really. That's how it happens. Because
Cool.
at this point, I think it's like you said, like now I'm already like interconnected enough to where people, it just makes sense anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I think that works too, because that makes me the rapper or comedy guy, and I'll take it, that's fine. The rapper podcast comedy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met you like, I think it was in December.
It was right after Power Hour. But you came in after I had rapped that time. You saw me
Right.
rap this last time. But see, the problem is I need to go like right around the beginning because, and so two things. That one, I was already thinking that I have to go around the beginning because what happened was the second time I went like 30th, and so I had so many notes. Like I'm trying to freestyle about everything everybody said, but I
Wow.
have like a notebook full of my notes. It's around here somewhere, but I don't think it's close enough for me to grab it. But yeah, a bunch of stuff in there, Something about like Femi eating pussy for sure is in there.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, great notes that I took that night. They're always great notes. I mean, but yeah. So I'm trying to freestyle all that, and if I went like 10th or 15th, then it's better because then I don't have as much stuff. I have to cram it all in 5 minutes. I don't think it really matters in the end, but it's more effective, And then last night, yes, still last night, because today's Saturday as we film this. They were doing Power Hour and I wasn't able to go, but she messaged me and asked if I was there, and she said I could freestyle at the beginning and then I could freestyle later.
Oh, nice.
So now I'm like, I have to go because
Cool.
they're basically letting me go at the very beginning. I get to open the show.
Hell yeah.
I mean, now I have to do it.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
My freestyle skills must be, again, I must have magic in me. I can't explain it. The people
sure
just
do.
they see the magic.
You sure do. Well,
As
and
I'm up
that's-
there rapping about, Femi eating pussy.
Oh my gosh. I don't know about that for magic, but no, but I like what you do, and I can't believe you zip around town on that like
Oh, that skateboard.
skateboard. Holy shit.
I know this weather makes me sad because I can't do it. Like when there's just enough precipitation, I'm like, should I? Probably not. Like I can go to the gym on it if it's just good enough outside. Like I've learned 30 degrees, you can actually handle it on the skateboard. Like you see people on scooters and they handle it. It's the snow on the sidewalk you got to worry about.
Yeah.
That's what you got to worry about.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
can
Hold
handle the
off on
cold.
that. Wait till spring.
I know. And I should probably wear a helmet.
Wear a helmet.
That's
yes,
what the people
please.
tell me. They
Yes.
say you should wear a helmet. I say, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. I really ought to.
Do it.
I know. I just love feeling the wind in my hair. Really. It feels so great. It really. But I have to wear a hat when I go on the way to work because it'll mess up my hair. Maybe the helmet is basically the same thing, I don't want a traumatic brain injury.
Oh my God. Yeah, dude, get a helmet.
Yeah.
Get a helmet.
That's all it takes is one fall. I've fallen a couple times. Like I fell just recently right after I said goodbye to you the other night.
Shut the fuck
did
up.
fall.
No, you didn't.
But it's not my fault. All right. There was some rocks on the road, and it wasn't like it was like there was like a bunch of debris like in one little spot, like a patch of rocks, right? That must have been what it was because I rode right over it, and I don't normally that skateboard I was riding. That's my I hadn't ridden that one in a while. That one's a lot different than the other one. The handling is a lot different. It's easier to fall off.
Oh
and
my
so
God,
I
dude.
did
Get a
fall.
helmet.
Yeah. I rolled.
Oh my gosh, I'm
rolled.
glad
I
you're
hit-
okay.
I hit my knee and I think it was, right here on my hand. You can still kind of see the mark, but it's not so
Oh
bad
my
anymore.
gosh.
Yeah. But you know what? Like I got home. I was already almost home. That's kind of what was annoying about it is I was like almost home. I was 2 blocks away and I fell off.
Yeah.
But I should wear a helmet. That's the point of the story. Knee pads, because it got my knee. Like,
I was
maybe
going to
some
say
knee
you should wear
pads.
knee pads and elbow pads and the whole shebang.
I know. I'm going 30 miles an hour. I'm riding
Oh
a
my
death
gosh,
machine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Sometimes. Sometimes I'm going 30. It's a little bit of exaggeration. I'm going like 25, though. I really am going 25. It's so cool.
I'm freezing. I'm making a little. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I'm like, just warm up with the pillow.
You know, I feel bad because Oscar's always looking at me like he's cold in this apartment. I'm like, for one, it says 74 in the other room. Like, it is set to 74. It's just the heat's not traveling because the door's closed. But also, like, I can't get it any warmer, Oscar. I don't know what you want me to do. Like, he's so cold. I feel bad for him. I try to, like, wrap him up in the blanket and do everything I can.
I'm like, let Oscar in so we can snuggle with him. No, but I wanted to bring up the night we met, and I'm so glad you're okay. Please do get a helmet.
Yeah. I'm glad I rolled. You know, I made it through. It was like I lost control and it wobbled and I jumped off and I did. You know what happened is I jumped off and I did one thing you have to do. Like if I'm going really fast, I try to like run it off if I can, but I couldn't because I was going too fast. So I did giant steps and then I rolled. So I reacted well. Just trying to put that on the record. Okay, I could have gotten injured, but I didn't.
Oh my gosh.
Continue.
Okay. So the night we met, I thought it was a super cool question. You asked what my superpower was.
Ah, yes. Yes. What is your superpower? Did you come up with a good answer?
Well, I told you on the spot it was manifestation. I think I can manifest things.
Wow.
I think everybody can.
Everybody has that superpower. Yes. I agree with that. I agree with that very much. I mean, I wish I was wearing it because I make professional mind blower t-shirts. I call myself a professional mind blower.
Wow.
And someone said you should make that a t-shirt. But I think that everybody is a professional mind blower, folks. I think everybody is. It's just about how you do it. And, and part of that is like how you manifest whatever it is that makes you, like, I think really what life is all about is what you create and what you manifest, and everything ultimately comes from that imagination, wherever those ideas are. So you could say that everybody has that superpower. And like maybe the best creations, like the best things, when people make something that's inspirational, that makes you think like, wow, that's good. That's good art. Maybe it's because they're manifesting that. Like they manifested that creation that manifested that reaction in you. Like it's all a chain reaction of manifestations of everything. Everything's manifested in some type of way. It all starts with intention for sure. Like it all has to come from that. Like, even with the idea of like you have to manifest success, like even if that's wrong, even if you manifest success and it doesn't work out, all the people who manifest success and it does work out, like all those people who were successful, that's what they did. They manifested success and then it came true. So it's like that's the only actual route to success. Like rarely ever do you stumble into success just magically. It's always manifesting it. And then sometimes that doesn't work out. But like it's not another option. You just have to be crazy and manifest it over and over.
Well, the more you manifest, the more you manifest other things.
Yeah.
It's like you just get that energy flowing, and I think you can just continue to manifest the hell out of things. And it is about intention. It is about dreaming it, like just daydreaming on it, going to bed, dreaming about it, thinking about it before bed, thinking about it in your free time, and writing notes to yourself. There's so many things and so much evidence of people writing things down and then it coming true.
Yeah.
Like that is real shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, I know that they've done studies about like affirmations and just people saying things to themselves in the morning and whether or not that has an actual like physiological difference that it makes. And it does.
Yeah.
Just saying like, I'm going to feel good today. I'm going to have a good day makes a difference. Like as simple as that, I think in a way too, like we're the stories that we tell ourselves, right? So like whatever story I choose to tell myself is what it will be. And then we see whatever that story is, we're like confirming that story in some way. And so it's better off if you make that story like a positive story, like a good version of whatever it is, like from these circumstances moving forward, what's like the best possible story and how do I become the character in that story? Like what would that character do?
Right.
Like that's the best probably way to think about it.
Yeah, it's like a fantasy world that you're creating for yourself and you're like the main character.
And that's how you manifest things though. Yeah. And you're in the fantasy world. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what made you come to this conclusion about this manifestation being your superpower? Like, why is that your answer? You know, like, what is it that makes you feel that way?
Well, I have my goals set on some major things, but the pieces are just slowly coming together, you know. I have some dreams that I don't even not believe in myself anymore because it's like a waste of time. I don't even like feeling that way. I just try and like strictly believe I can do it and I will do it and I'm already doing it. Like I read something or heard something the other day that said, now is eternity. And that just hit me really hard. I just feel so powerful right now, like in where I'm at in my life. And I have some really good things in the works for my studio space, for Comedy and Caviar, for my podcast. And I'm really excited to make movies. And like, to me, this is going to be the year of making movies. And I'm so excited about it. So I can feel the parts moving and just all the pieces coming together and the energy flowing toward my ultimate goal. And I just know it's going to happen. And yeah, that's just where I am at right now in my life. And it feels good to be able to be here mentally after what I went through when I lost Sergio. And I've been able to take him with me in my heart, and I feel he's protecting me and encouraging me. And I believe in so much more now, spiritually, energetically. I believe in the afterlife. Like, I believe in everything I would want to believe at this point in my life. And I find a lot of security in that. So now it's just like taking those next steps and really at what point do you dedicate your life to it and try and make alternate sources of income, you know, and take that chance. But yeah, I've got some exciting things in the works, and I feel like I've manifested it for myself because it happened later in my life, you know?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit older than other people on the scene, and I don't shy away from that. I am who I am, but I'm doing it later in life, and that's what tells me, like, I am possible to do these things I dream.
Yeah.
It is possible to make it happen. And yeah, that's just where I'm at right now in my life.
Yeah, I mean, and like whatever path you have is different than anybody else's. Like, there's no like normal route to success, like especially with something like comedy, something so specific, like something so what's the word? Based on everybody's individual perspective, I should say. Like, anybody can come to comedy and find something else in it. So I'm trying to think of the word for that. There's a word I'm trying to think of. It's not going to come to me. It's a very simple word. But subjective, that's the word I'm trying to remember. But it's comedy is subjective. And so something like that. So yeah, I feel like with that, it's hard to know exactly like where you are at all times. And art's kind of designed that way. Everything's kind of that way where you're always striving to be better and you're always trying to be some better thing. But like, I really like that quote, now is eternity. Because truly that's the best place to be, is to understand that like whatever moment you're in now is truly all life is that, you know, it's not, you know, I think you naturally get ahead of yourself and like try to want to be more successful and what can I do and what's next and all these things. But in the end, it's like right now, where are you at right now? And just appreciate that rather than getting so ahead of it and thinking of all these things and ways you can do things, you know, because now is eternity. It is every moment now is its own miniature eternity, always.
Yeah. It's pretty far out too. I mean, it's pretty far out to realize later in life that, I don't know, like the society that you've kind of bought into is like, who really am I? Like, who am I if you take away, like, some of these things that have just been prescribed to society? And, like, when did I sign up to work 5 days a week, you know? Like, when I was a kid, when did I sign up to go to school 5 days a week? When I wanted to be home, like, with my family or with my mom, or, you know, maybe learning differently or being creative. But I'm just also ready to, like, live my life and do it the way I want to do it. And I'm getting closer to that every day, and it feels good.
Yeah.
Because I've been working, like, my whole life, you know?
Yeah, we're in the same boat here. I mean, like, technically, we don't make much money off music because nobody does. Probably, like, you probably make more doing comedy than you would off of, like, streaming, because I don't even know how much you have to make the same amount. Like, let's say you make $100 off of comedy in a month. $100. To make that much off of streaming, you'd have to get, like, I don't even know, like 50,000 streams, like some crazy number. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's hard. It's hard to make it.
But what I'm saying is just like finding revenue streams and then being able to do that. Someone told me that a lot of comedians walk dogs. That's one thing a lot of comedians end up doing, because you can make a lot of money doing that somehow. I know Mike Dwyer does it for sure. I know he's a dog walker.
Cool.
But just finding a way to do it. I mean, like, for me, this is really the way. It's like I have a Patreon for this show and like stuff like that, and just hoping that plays out. That and like merchandise, because what else? I mean, like, I know a lot of comedians, that's what ends up being a thing for them if they have a podcast, is their Patreons. They make so much off of those if they just throw extra stuff on there. I don't know if you've thought about that with your podcast.
Yeah, Mac has talked to me about Patreon.
I don't like the idea of putting a bunch of stuff I could be putting out to people behind a paywall. That's what I don't like. Like, I would just want to put it on YouTube for everybody. If I'm interviewing somebody, I wouldn't want to go put the interview away and not let anybody see it. I'd rather have everybody see it, and that's the main thing. And then, so I don't know how. I put music on the Patreon for sure. You can hear my music exclusive on that Patreon. Okay. Shout out. But yeah, for real, I've been teasing my toes. I've been saying I'll take a picture of my feet and I'll send it to them on Patreon.
Teasing my toes.
Yeah, one of these days.
Is there a market for toes?
There's gotta be. You know what's so funny is, like, because of the camera angle of this podcast right here, right now, I've done it before where I haven't wore socks, so it'll be my feet, like, they'll be out. And I had a coworker say to me, like, "Oh, I saw your feet on your podcast." Like, he was like telling me. He liked it. He was actually excited. So yes, there's a market for toes is the answer to your question, because he was interested.
Wow.
I didn't even know I had my feet out the whole time. He was probably checking out my feet the whole
That's
video.
hilarious.
No. And I remember I would go on TikTok live and people would say foot reveal, like, as a joke. So sometimes I would show them my feet just for fun. But they would take screenshots and they would.
The internet is a strange place.
It is.
Oh my God.
I feel like they're asking me ironically. I feel like if I was a girl, I don't know if I would give them the foot reveal. Like, if I was a female, I don't know if I'd go with the joke. But I hope they're asking me ironically. Like, honestly, I don't know what they're doing with those feet pictures. They might, they could do anything with them. The internet's a strange place.
It is.
You don't want to show anybody your feet, boys and girls. That's the point. You have to actually, because that's actually true. You know, I forget about that. And I think feet fetishes are actually pretty popular. I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah.
I think if we, like, looked up the number, it'd be shockingly high.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I've never gotten it. I've had people explain it to me, like, you know, like, oh, but a woman's foot, like, it's like a woman has, like, a delicate foot, whereas, like, a guy has a masculine foot, and so you can appreciate a good woman's foot. That's what he was saying.
I'm moving my toes toward the camera.
I kind of got it when he said it like that, but still, like, I just don't.
Weird.
I'm not.
Oh my gosh.
It's a foot, dude.
Jeez.
It's a fucking foot. Like, what do you? But I don't know. Quentin Tarantino, he seems into feet. You ever see that? Oh, like in his movies, it's like a thing, like a running gag. Is like there will be feet right next to the camera a lot of the time. Like, always feet. Yeah. Now that you know, you'll see it. It's a thing.
I will.
Look out for feet in his movies. You'll find them. Yeah. But with your shows, the shows that you do, the shows that you produce, tell the people a little bit about that, because Comedy and Caviar, that's a great idea. It's a great idea, but this would be a great platform for you to explain like how that all came to be in the first place. How does that even happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the co-producer, Claire Parlett, shout out to Claire.
Hell yeah.
She works at Les Bouchon, and she had this idea to do this show, and long story short, she brought it up to me, and she had brought it up to a few people, but some people didn't think it could be done or questioned it. I don't know.
It can't be done. You had to show them.
Yeah. But no, I just thought it was a great idea. And Claire and I are very similar. We pay close attention to detail. We thought about a lot of the little things, and we just decided to go with this. I kind of kept reminding her about it. When she told me about it, I just knew it was a great idea. And we met a few times, and we did it. And it's been a really fun show. We've had 3 sold out shows.
Woo!
And we're working on our first special Valentine's Day double feature.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, so we're going to do a matinee and an evening show.
Nice.
And the tickets are $55, but with that comes 3 chef-curated bites.
What?
Yeah. And then you also get a welcome glass of sparkles, and we have full bar service, wine list, caviar service, and special appetizers available. We have a fresh menu. All the comedians' names are listed on the menu along with the food. And we call it an elevated comedy experience.
How many people, like total, since it sells out, like what's the total number? Like how big is the
venue?
Is it like 100 people? Like
we're at capacity. I think it's like around 50 people.
Oh, so it's kind of exclusive a little bit in a way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like with comedy, sometimes it's nice. Sometimes you want a smaller room, especially like something like that. It probably would be nice to have about 50.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you could like expand though one day. You think about it ever? Like maybe doing a bigger room with that?
We've actually talked to a few different restaurants who are interested in possibly bringing the concept to them and doing some pop-up shows.
You do like 2 a month or something.
Yeah, so we've got some different things in the works, but right now we really just want to focus on what we're doing at Bouchon. But definitely we're going to take a break for the summer and probably do some pop-up shows this summer and bring the experience where we can. And we our other tagline is we're class meets crass.
Yeah.
So it's a tongue twister, but we're class meets crass. But it's dressed to impress. It's kind of bougie. It's fun. We really have a good time. So.
And it's always been a good turnout every single time, pretty much.
Yeah. So we're in the process right now. Shout out if you're looking, if you're interested, Comedy and Caviar, check it out. Tickets are available right now. We have a few tickets left for the evening show, and we have a handful of tickets left for the matinee. So check it out, Comedy and Caviar.
Yeah. And if you missed this time, don't worry. They'll be back around next month, folks.
Yep, we will.
Instagram, right?
We'll be back. Yep. Follow us on Instagram, and we will be doing a March 16th show as well. So our Valentine's show is February 16th and then March 16th. So check it out. Link in bio. Comedy and Caviar.
Woo! Comedy and Caviar. That is very cool that it's been selling out, though, because that's what really basically, I mean, numbers don't lie. You can't it's obviously working for some reason.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be like the high end idea. Because I mean, is there anything else that's really done that? Like, have you seen it somewhere else, or are you guys like the only one that you know of where it's like a high end comedy experience is geared towards like, you know, everybody dresses nice and we're gonna give you something fancy, you know? Like, is that a thing, or do you think you guys are trailblazers in that? Because really, I don't know. Maybe there is something out there. I have no idea.
I think there is definitely a market for people like the dress up aspect. But I'm sure it's being done other places somewhere. If it is, I don't know necessarily about it, but it's got to be being done other places.
It has to, yeah.
Yeah, I had seen there was like a Dress to Impress Zanies show maybe back in December. Or something like that, but I don't know. Didn't go to the show. I don't know how it worked out. But yeah, so I've seen, you know, here and there, but it is kind of a different concept. You know, the Dress to Impress, at least it's dress to impress, whatever that means to you. You don't have to wear like a suit and tie, whatever you feel dressed up in. And some people really go all out, and some people, you know, are still pretty conservative in jeans, but for the most part, yeah, people just are excited to be there, and that's really what makes it. I mean, the chefs, the bartender, the front of the house, everybody really cares about the details. So it's been a really fun show to be a part of, and so yeah, I'm very excited about that. And then, of course, we have my new podcast, Coming Up Comic.
Yes.
Which we're about to drop our 3rd episode with Emily Ogle.
I just had her on here.
Did you?
2 episodes ago, yeah.
God,
right
no
before
way.
Harold, who we just did earlier today, would be Emily, which was 2 days ago.
Oh my God, Emily, my dog, I love her.
Yeah, she was great. We did a 4-hour episode.
Holy shit.
My longest episode ever, folks.
Wow.
It was a really good one. But yeah, you had her on yours. Awesome.
Oh, Emily, that's hilarious. 4 hours?
4 hours.
Holy shit.
I was impressed. I was
my
like,
God.
wow, we really just did that.
Emily, I wish she was here right now. She's so fun. I love her. We have so much fun, and she makes me laugh so hard. So,
but you, and how many episodes did you have filmed now for your show?
7.
7, yeah. And you just kind of batch filmed them, like you filmed a bunch of them all at once.
Yeah.
And then, so when are you planning on filming more? How does that work then?
Yeah, I'm slowly filling my calendar with interviews for the upcoming year. So I'm actively doing interviews in the next few months, and yeah, we'll continue doing interviews at the studio. But initially, I wanted to get the podcast going earlier than the first of the year, but there was just some life circumstances that got things pushed behind. But I did. It's interesting filming some of that like long ago now. I just feel like I've already like grown so much from that the past year. And
how long ago did you film it now?
So like Joe's episode was filmed.
That's the first
almost,
episode.
Yeah, it was filmed like almost a year before it. Yeah.
What? Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't expect that big of a gap.
Mm-hmm.
So a year you were sitting on this episode. Mm-hmm. Just because it was kind of like, you could think about it probably like a pilot episode for a show almost then at that point, right? Like you probably had that filmed and then you hadn't filmed anything else yet.
Yeah.
And just like waiting to find something else. Well, how did it play out that way?
Yeah. So what happened with that was that I wanted to do like an intro. I started to do my interviews, and then my boyfriend's dad was sick.
Oh.
And that's really what kind of, there were just other things to focus on, and I wanted to do it really the way I wanted to do it. And I filmed a little intro, which it's crazy when you film something. It does take so much more time. And I'm not the technical person. I'm like, can come up with the ideas, but I'm learning as an artist how to do everything myself, and eventually that's the goal, like to know how to do things on your own. But,
Yep.
Not everybody comes out like with a setup and the tech savviness to do this and that. So that was something I had to learn. And I also just wanted to get things right. I wanted to have an intro. I wanted to find the right music. I wanted it to look the way I wanted it to look. And also I wanted to be able, I did it in the best time I could, the way I wanted to do it. So I just gave myself enough grace. And then when it gets to a point where it's like late in the year, it's like the holidays and shit, it's like, you know what, let's just start fresh in the new year. And it just felt like the right thing to do. But with that said, I'm excited to release these episodes and to film new episodes. And I have some exciting guests and some people who have done work in the film industry or made films themselves. So that's exciting to me. That's something that is important to me. Film, I love movies. I want to make movies. I've been watching a lot of old movies and just feeling the inspiration from, like, I'm talking like Rebel Without a Cause with James Dean.
Yeah.
And The 7-Year Itch with Marilyn Monroe. And yeah, that old school stuff. Alfred Hitchcock, Psycho, like those are the movies I've been watching these days. But
Did you like movies before comedy, I imagine? Have you always been interested in movies? I mean, I suppose you've probably always been interested in comedy too. But I mean, did you ever see yourself as like that would be your future maybe? Like, oh, maybe I'll make films like before you'd even, because comedy is relatively recent, right? If it's the last 5 years of your life. Like before that, had you ever thought about movies is what I'm saying?
yeah, I always wanted to make movies.
Oh, really? Yeah. And now you're kind of trying to combine the two. Yeah. Yeah, because I've had that thing in my brain, like I've liked the idea of making movies. And I have like, a camera for this reason. Like I have cameras down there too. I never had like a good video camera because DSLRs, I suppose, aren't actually video cameras. It's a whole separate thing. But yeah, I mean, I used to film my own music videos. It's fun to direct things. It is very fun. It feels so good to bring things together in that way. I never really realized though how collaborative true filmmaking was. You never really know that until you see how films are made because that's what it really is. It's like you need to bring all these people together to make a movie. Or like, if you're the producer, that's you. You're the producer. You're the one that brings them all in, right? Isn't that the producer's job in a film or anything really, is to be the one that actually connects everything? Yeah, which is a crazy undertaking for a film. I can only imagine. So, but yeah, it's always been a fun little dream of mine too, in a way, somewhere in my brain. But I know in the end, you can't be everything. You can't be everything, Ruse. You got to stick to what you're good at. But I've like, it is fun. It is fun. Like, do you have a film you were talking about before we started the podcast? You do have like an ultimate film concept. You do have one.
Yeah, I have numerous, but in particular, I do have my feature film I'm working on. And then there's also a comedy feature that we're in the very early stages of working on, but I'm excited about that. And also a couple short film ideas and actually even a mockumentary idea. So there's a lot of ideas brewing right now, and that's what I mean. This year is the year to make movies for me, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
So it does take a lot of work, but also it can be done. And I just am a people person. I love making connections. Like, my buddy Donovan, I had a small part in his...
Donovan Strong, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Strong O'Donnell. He just did this movie, and I had a small part in that. And I helped him get a few of the spots that we shot at. And that was exciting. And that was, my neighborhood bar and another local bar that I'm friends with the owner. And So we were able to work those things out, and it was exciting, but people want to do fun things, you know.
Yeah.
Bar owners want their bar on camera. There's so many cool places in Chicago to film at, and I'm so inspired by Chicago. I'm just always imagining it through the lens of the camera and imagining how it would look on film. And that is just something I've always been into. So the comedy world, that was like acting, more or less. I mean, I was always interested in acting. I did a little bit of acting like in high school, like little stuff. But now it's like once you can do comedy, you can act.
Yeah.
You know, you can do what a lot of people that are even great actors can't achieve on their own, just walking up to a mic. I mean, and you can do a similar thing with rapping, but you know, to not have a script to read, to go off your instincts and your quickness in your mind, it is a special talent. And I'm, you know, just entering 5 years, I'm just scratching the surface. There's so much to learn. There's so many great comedians out there, and I just know that I'm willing to learn and get better and better and keep at it. And everything takes time.
Yeah.
Everything takes time, and my long game is good, you know.
Yeah. I mean, 5 years. 5 years is still a decent amount, though. Because, like, most of the time when I ask people, it's usually around, like, 3 or 4. A lot of the time you'll hear, like, they started comedy around, like, 2018, and maybe they took a break around, like, 2020, and they came back around, like, 2022, 23. But usually it's not, like, 5 to 10 years most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, do you meet a lot of people where it's like they've surpassed your numbers?
Well,
I'm sure there's all kinds of
I'm
people out
entering
there.
my 5th year.
Yeah.
So I mean, just there's so much to learn just by every mic you do.
Oh, absolutely,
you know?
always. Yeah. I mean,
but
with everything, yeah.
But yeah, I do meet comedians that have been doing it like over 10 years once in a while. I do meet people who've been doing it longer than that. Once in a blue moon.
One day, some guy told me 29 years. I was like, what?
No.
Dude.
Like Tim Watson. Have you met Tim Watson?
I don't think so.
Oh my gosh, he's a great guy. But he's one of the oldest comedians I know. I think he's in his 70s.
Good for him.
And yeah, he's a great guy. And so that's amazing. There's just so much knowledge and experience and just doing something.
Yeah.
Like I said, I never imagined doing comedy, but I did always want to make movies. But the comedy thing has just become a great way to bust into entertainment, writing, and acting ultimately.
So you think like the skills of comedy kind of play into that movie making dream in the end is what you're saying? Like the principles within comedy kind of pay off, like just learning all of that and learning the ins and outs of that actually play back into the filmmaking in the end. I mean, the connections, absolutely. Because I mean, how could they not? Like the people you meet, you're going to meet people in that industry no matter what if you hang around long enough, like at these comedy open mics. But also, I wonder, like, what do you mean about like the mindset? Like, what specific like things have you learned from comedy that you can take and bring that to like filmmaking?
Well, I'm talking from an acting perspective.
Just that part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have done some acting classes, and I want to act in some of my films, in particular my feature film.
Yeah.
So that's something that, again, I think comedy prepares you in a way for if you're interested in that acting world. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But I do think, when you look back at the history of comedians, there's so many people who started in comedy and then ended up doing acting.
Yeah, so many. Or like legendary comedians with also like great roles in films that everybody remembers them for. You know, there's all kinds of them.
Right.
Like people who are regularly stand-up comedians, but they have like a couple roles in films. I mean, like, trying to think of, what was it? He's on SNL. Chris Farley. There's a couple Chris Farley films. A lot of people know him from those movies. I mean, stuff like that, where it's like, you know, you can easily remember comedians from the movies they were in. Trying to think. I don't think, Jim Carrey. I guess Jim Carrey, a lot of people would probably think of him as like a movie, like, Bruce Almighty, because that was a big one back then. There's a few other big Jim Carrey movies. Of course there are. But yeah, stuff like that. It's like, I think they're very closely interrelated. I never really thought about it within the idea of playing a character, though. That's interesting. Like learning to play the character of a comedian, per se. That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah. Because in the end, I mean, you're always playing some type of character. I mean, if you can adapt that type of mindset, I think that's ultimately what you have to do as an actor. That's what you have to do, is you have to think, well, what if I was this character and this is how I was and I thought these things? Like, to me, the hard part would be, how do I trick myself into naturally reacting to something that I know is going to happen? Like, that's the confusing part. Like, I know every single beat of it. And it always blows my mind, too, how actors film things out of sequence. Because I'm always thinking, like, okay, well, how are you going to act like this when this is, like, the end of the movie and you haven't even filmed the beginning of the movie yet? So I'm supposed to cry here, but I haven't even seen all this other stuff. To me, that's so confusing. But they do it. They do it all the time. So, and I guess, I think a lot of it is in that wisdom of just being present and learning to like use yourself. It's interesting to connect it to being on stage, because I think it is similar, like being a comedian or being a rapper or being anything on stage. You kind of have to play a role. And so if you can play it right, you will do it effectively, then it works. I think ultimately what that is inserting yourself just enough, like putting just enough of your soul and your personality into it to where people believe it and they believe you. That's the hard part, is doing that. And it is all kind of the same. Even all that being said, I feel like I would be a bad actor. I feel like you put a camera on me, I don't know. I'm always worried I'm going to blow it. I'm going to blow it with my debut. They'll finally throw a camera on me and I'll be so excited and I'll be the worst. Yeah, I don't know. Put me on your movie, whoever you are, whoever's listening to this. Give me a chance. I won't fail you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I mean, you were saying before we started recording too, you were just on a movie. Yes? You were just in a film.
Yes, I was an extra in a film called The Premiere that was directed by John Silver. I was an extra. Yeah, but it is winning some awards and it's doing pretty well. And John Silver was nominated for Best Director. I'm not sure what the fest is or for what award show, but yeah, he's been having some great exposure with this feature film he did, and it was it's a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything from being on that set when you were there? Did you see anything like that information that you hadn't already known about making movies?
Yeah. I'm sure there's so much 1,000 things that I saw that I don't understand or would still need to know. But I just like the process of doing something over until it's right. It's like, okay, do it again, do it again, do it again. But that is how it goes, I suppose. I did make a short film a year and a half-ish ago now. Gosh. But I did a short film for a little festival for this little club, if you will. And there was like, make a short based on your 8 or 80-year-old self. And so I made a short film and it was very cool.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. What was the film exactly? Like, what did you do for the movie?
So, it's called Candy Cigarettes.
Okay.
and it's just a little short. It's kind of vaulted right now, but just because again everything's been so hectic. But I am going to be entering it to some short film fests and showing it eventually someplace. But it was kind of based on a culmination of like my aunts and me being an aunt, and yeah, it's got a little twist in it. And like I said, I kind of morphed the 8 and 80-year-old self concept together. So I had some old cars. I had Marty DeRosa, who's a fabulous comedian, and Lindsay Shaw, who's also a fabulous comedian, and they're both actors as well. But yeah, so that was very cool, and when the time is right, that will come out too. But yeah, a lot of different projects going on right now. But the biggest thing is still trying to like find the time for peace to write all of this stuff. Like that's the thing, like finding that quiet time just to be able to get everything that's in here out. And I guess that's the process too of being a creative, and you know, just putting all those ideas into the universe and making them real. And it takes time and it takes patience, but yeah, I do feel like this is a very special year.
Yeah.
For me.
I mean, how often do you do that? Do you just take time out just to put ideas down? Like, do you have to set time aside, or do you have how does that work for you? Is it like you randomly come up with stuff, or like when you're writing? Because when you say writing, you mean just like comedy, or you mean like writing films, right?
Yeah,
you mean all of it.
All of it, really. I have to really be in a comedy mood to write comedy.
Yeah.
And sometimes
you have to be feeling silly.
Yeah. And sometimes with comedy, like you may even go through moods where you're just like, can I even do this? Like, can I even do this right now? Can I do this period? Like questioning yourself. And then you get out there and you do it, and you do it well, and you remember why you should be out there, you know, and why you deserve a spot for yourself. And sometimes it's hard I could have never imagined that before, like even thinking that I had something to say that was worth listening to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But just getting out there and doing it is kind of what forces you to look at it differently in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just forcing yourself to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, that's the best thing. I mean, I hate change. I don't like change. I resist change. So, again, I was sort of thrust into this world of okay, just looking at myself like, what the fuck am I going to do with the rest of my life? Like, am I going to do something great and something different, or am I just gonna let this thing that happened, you know, ruin me? And I knew that that's not what I should do, and that's not what he would want me to do. And it's just been, I've really been working ever since, and just like turning my dreams into reality.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where if you have forward momentum, like if you find a thing that makes you feel like you're doing something, like you're creatively moving forward, like it's impossible to get hung up on something, whatever it is, like whatever that thought loop is that keeps you down, whatever it possibly could be, because life has a million things it'll throw at you all the time. But I think it's just being productive and having a thing that you do. There's something about that just feels like, you know, you did a concrete thing. You went out and you did it. Like even just doing an open mic as a comedian, like you can say, I went out and I did an open mic tonight. Even though I wasn't feeling well, I still did that, and I went and I did it, and no one can tell me I didn't. Like, and you need things like that in life.
For sure.
You need them,
Yeah.
you know? And I mean, like, finding comedy later in life is an interesting way to do it, because it could be anything. Like, I say I'm lucky that I found music early on. I feel so lucky, because I've made music for now, it would be 13 years. But that's, someone pointed out to me the other day, I didn't even realize, that's over half my life. At this point, that means I've done music for over half my life, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's true. And I'm lucky in that, though, because most people, it takes a while. You know, and I always think about, too, like, people who go to college, they always switch their degree like 3 times. That's something everybody always does. So, and, like, you know, in the end, you just want to find a thing. Like, when I was younger, I remember I would watch people on YouTube a lot, and that's another reason I ended up getting cameras. Like, there was a point where I was doing a vlog, but it's just so much. If I had an editor and a guy who followed me around with a camera, I would do a vlog. I call it Ruse TV, and people would get to see me every day because I know they want to. But it's just too much work. I just can't do it. But that was a thing at one point, too. I mean, it's just like, you know, whatever your heart desires, right? It's just following that, you know. In the end, you just want to figure it out.
Well, you mentioned something, and I don't think you know this about me, but I also did not go away to college after high school. And that's, I think, where I'm like extra bitter toward corporate America, because I've been seriously working like those years when people might have been like away at school having a great time, which I would have loved to have done. I was 17, like the summer I graduated from high school, and I started working at the local bank in town, like a community bank, and I ended up working there for 10 years. So now I'm still in banking, and it's crazy because, you know, I've worked my way up the old-fashioned way through the years. And so, yeah, I've been in banking for a long time. Like, a long time. Over 25 years.
Yeah.
So I did it a different way. So I guess that's why I'm, again, like, I didn't have as much of like that time to like fuck around and like find myself. It was like get right to making money and taking care of myself. And that's what I did. So I have been my whole life.
Yeah. It's interesting how one thing can just change your life so much and make you look at it all so differently, though, right? Because like, now you're at a point where you're thinking like, maybe I just got to leave this whole banking thing behind. How are we going to do this? And I'm sure you 8 years ago would be like, what is she talking about? What is she saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like when I think you could write a whole book about it, about like the idea that just certain things will come along in life, no matter what they are, and they just change your life completely, and you can never predict them, and there's a million different things. Like, you could probably categorize them, but really it's like all kinds of things. You know, someone passes away, you know, maybe like you fall upon a fortune or you lose a fortune, like, you know, because both of those things will change your whole lifestyle if you have money when you didn't, or if you don't have money when you did, you know. But someone dying, what else? I mean, there's all kinds of things. I was thinking about this because you could, a breakup, obviously a breakup. That's a big one. A breakup will change your whole life, especially like a big breakup. You know, date for 5 years and you break up. That'll like change the way you look at the world. It will. Even though people, you know, they'll talk you down, they'll talk you out of it. It really will fuck you up. So there's that. It's all kinds of things, though. And like, it's just, you never know what it's going to be. That's why you got to be open to the universe. You got to be okay with the flow of life, right? Because you never know what's coming down the pipe next. You got to, and maybe that's the reason you got to, like, every time something like that happens in my life, I just think like, it's just reminding me the urgency of all of it. Like, I have to do as much as I possibly can while I can. Like, now, what did you say before? Now is, what was the quote you had said?
Now is eternity.
Now is eternity. And it's that, you know, it's like, now is the chance for you to do everything you want to do. It's not another now for you to do it. It's right now. Yeah. And that's why it's cool to know that you have that momentum too, like with what you were saying before. Because I feel the same way sometimes. Like, I realize like there is really a momentum under my feet that I have produced. I'm creating it. And if I just keep doing the same thing I've been doing, it'll just grow and grow and grow
Yeah,
and grow.
well.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah, it's energy.
Yeah, it is.
It's
It is
energy.
energy. Yeah, and if you look closely enough, you can see it. You can almost feel it there. Yeah, and I think like what's so cool too is like if you're collaborative, like film is naturally collaborative. If you have that type of thing, if you're doing something collaborative, like you have your podcast, it makes it so you can provide something to people and you become a collaborative person. You be like in their minds, the way that people look at you, you're someone who includes other people. And I think that like goes a long way, like longer than anybody would realize, because people want to see people like include each other and work together. Really, you know, it makes it people realize you can, because people people are haters. I think naturally it's easier to be a hater.
Yeah, I think
Can't blame you.
that's part of why I feel like I can make a movie, especially like if you have a good community around you.
Yeah.
And you know, there's people in my neighborhood that I'm good friends with, that I just feel like would support, you know, if XYZ is needed for a scene. You know, you have comedians who are just such clowns, you know, comedians just, I honestly can't think of a comedian who'd say no, like to an acting part. So I would love to use a lot of comedians as actors, obviously extras, but utilize people's apartments, people's spaces. There's just so many people who I think are willing, and if you can organize it, if you can dream it, you can make it happen. And also, like, less is more.
You manifest it.
Yeah. And less is more in filmmaking, and I think that's something that real filmmakers are getting back to, like just like that realness, like a real setting, something that feels like something you would really see in real life. And
I mean, at least practical effects. It's so sad that practical effects have become like a relic of the past with modern filmmaking, because like you can see the difference. I think it was who is it? Christopher Nolan, who at least when he made Inception, I know he was like swearing by he never uses anything but practical effects. But yeah, that stuff makes a big difference. It really does. And just compared to like, because modern filmmaking, they'll spend so much money on digital effects, and it doesn't even look that great. They'll rush the digital effects in the end. A lot of these Marvel movies, they rush it, and people complain about it. And if you've seen any of that controversy surrounding those movies,
really,
yeah, it's
that's
a big
crazy.
thing people get upset about now, because you can't blame them. It's like when you're pumping out these movies, they're trying to, they literally give themselves a deadline before they even write the script. Like they do all this stuff. They have like a whole formula for making this stuff. But then what happens is they end up rushing certain parts of it. So they have like, I think the recent Thor movie, Thor Ragnarok, Ragnarok was 3. So it'd be Love and Thunder, that was the 4th one. But they end up rushing it at the very end. And so like there'll be just bad visual effects in one part and everybody laughs at it, and then like the visual effects artists get laughed at, but really it's not even their fault. Like it makes them look bad, but really they just had no time to do it. They were given no time and they weren't paid enough or whatever the situation was.
Well,
you know? And if you just did practical effects like they used to, you wouldn't have this problem. If you just made it look good already, you wouldn't have to rely on that.
It's such bullshit. Like, and that's what's so crazy is like all the money that's made to make some of these big films, and they end up just looking cheesy.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, what is this? So I do love watching like old camera tricks. Like something I saw recently, it was using a camera it's a mirror, and the mirror is like cut out, and it's like using an extra from behind to like go into the mirror. It's like a camera trick, and I was like kind of blown away by it. But I thought, man, if I ever needed to do a shot like that for a film, I would want to do it just like that somehow, you know? And so of course it's saved somewhere on my Instagram.
I think I know the shot you're talking about. I think they did it in the movie Mr. Nobody with Jared Leto, where it's like, does it like pan out from the mirror and then it's like one big continuous shot, or like it goes into the mirror, one or the other.
Something like that. And it could, I'm going to look for it. I'm going to find it. I don't want to misspeak, but it could be that person, because I know it's like a man, and I think he like has his shirt off in the scene. But yeah, I'll find it and flip it to you either way. But again, like doing things like Alfred Hitchcock used, and of course that was black and white, but like he used chocolate sauce for the blood, you know?
I didn't know that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, because it's black and white, so you can get away with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, really, the best filmmakers really write. They're just pushing the envelope. It's kind of like similar to any good art if you do it right. I mean, I've always loved film, and I mean, there's a giant TV off camera here, but it always makes me realize I need to watch more movies, because that's one reason I wanted a giant TV, is just to watch movies on. There's so many good movies. You know, one thing I'll tell you is Blu-ray, or like getting a digital copy of a film, looks 10 million times better than if you go on these streaming services. Like, it's crazy different, just because of the way that file processing works, and like you're watching it at such a low bit rate when you watch it on the streaming service, whereas if you watch it on like the actual file or like a Blu-ray, it's like 50,000 megabytes per second compared to the 20,000 on streaming. Whatever, it's a crazy difference. It really makes a world of it. I'm just telling you, if you've never watched like a movie on Blu-ray, if you haven't in a while, oh my god, it'll be blown away. It'll look so good. You'll be like, I didn't know my TV could look like this. But yeah, just movies. Like there's so many good movies, and I think the best directors, the best creators manage to do that, where they stick out so much based on their choices. Like the things that they choose to do make a difference. Like just making that camera, choosing to do that with the camera through the mirror, whatever you choose to do, like making that choice to demonstrate something. I haven't dived into Alfred Hitchcock crazily enough, because I'm sure there's so much that he established. Like there's probably so much history that starts with him, because it is a lot of what he did. I know it was him with that first one-shot movie they ever did. Like if you saw Birdman, not too long ago now, but still decently, it's like 20. I don't know, maybe it is like 10 years old. Birdman. I don't know when that movie came out.
Keaton?
Yeah, with Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
But it's all one take. And I think the first movie to ever do that, like one take all the way through, would be Alfred Hitchcock, with something about like there's a bomb and there's a few people in a room and the bomb's there the whole time, but it's all filmed as if it's one take. Really, it's like camera tricks that make it seem that way. That's the same thing with Birdman. But I mean, like, so many little things like that. I know, like, he had that thing about cuts. Like, he had that, if you cut from a little girl to one thing, it's normal. But if you cut from a little girl to, like, a man gazing, like, that implies a whole different thing. And just the psychological trick of what a cut can do, you know, like, stuff like that. Because filmmaking is that. It's, like, learning to play within those boundaries.
Yeah, like suspense.
Yeah, and creating suspense.
Creating that suspense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what he does with that bomb under the table.
Yep.
It's like, it's scarier to know that the bomb, like everybody knows it's there, than just like bomb blows up, boom. It's like the anticipation of when is this thing going to blow up.
Yeah, and the audience knows. Yeah. Yeah. What is that? Dramatic irony is what it is, right? When the audience knows what the characters do not know, that'd be dramatic irony. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So it's like it'd be like if in a soap opera, I know that she cheated on him, but he doesn't know. Like, that's some great dramatic irony right there.
Right. Yeah.
That's some saucy dramatic irony.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I'm just like, my favorite directors, I don't know if you like not Philip Seymour, Paul Thomas Anderson. I
don't know him.
Oh my God. Like, I love David Lynch. Just died, which is so sad, because he's definitely like in my top 3, top 5. I'm not sure. Probably top 3, I would say. Like, David Lynch is one of the greatest of all time. So sad that he passed away.
No.
But just in terms of like making his own movies, like completely uncompromised, it's crazy the stuff he got away with, David Lynch. But he's just that good. And then Paul Thomas Anderson, he did Magnolia, if you've ever seen that movie. He did The Master, which had Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's like a Scientology movie. Magnolia is probably his most popular film. Boogie Nights is also a big one.
Yeah.
But really, I'd strongly recommend his movies because it's just like he's so good at directing. Like he's just so good. He makes the best movies. I can't believe how.
What's
good they are.
Magnolia about? I'm trying to remember if I've seen that.
It's got Tom Cruise. It's got Julianne Moore. Again, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh my God.
There's a few other big actors in that.
Yeah, that's
movie.
an older one, and I believe I saw that a long, long time ago.
Yeah,
It feels like a long time ago.
it's older. It's like the late '90s, I think, is when it
Okay,
came out.
yeah.
But it's so good. It's like it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It has to be just because of like the way that I think he writes all of his own scripts too. I'm pretty sure he does. He has to. But the way he strings together all these different things throughout the movie, like it's a bunch of different stories that the theme of all the stories really is the thread that runs through the whole thing. And also he's just a magnificent director just in the choices that he makes. And like he does something in a lot of his movies where he'll cut to music at like in certain moments, and the way that he does it, it's almost like a music video, but it just it works. It's just something about it is genius. His most recent movie was Licorice Pizza, if you remember that came out a couple years ago. But that must be the last one. I'm pretty sure it is. But he's probably my favorite. I'm trying to think of other directors. I have on my computer downloaded so I can watch it in that 4K I was talking about. I have Barry Lyndon, which people say is a really good Kubrick movie. Because Kubrick, I still haven't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I feel like is like something
There's
I have
so
to
many
see.
movies that I haven't seen that I need to see.
I know,
I
right?
just can't even.
There's not enough time in the world.
Yeah, there's
it's
just
impossible.
not.
But aren't there so many movies? Like, are there movies you think of? Like, what are your top movies? You got any top like favorites of all time?
Oh man. There's just so many movies, quite frankly.
I know it's always hard for me to. I can't pick a favorite anything. Do you have any movies that stick out to you though? Like, if someone asked you for a recommendation for a movie,
Yeah, let's see. I think It's a Wonderful Life is one of my favorite movies. I've always loved It's a Wonderful Life.
another classic, another old one.
Classic. Yeah, I love the classics. I recently saw Leaving Las Vegas. And that's an incredible movie. And I was watching that because one of the shorts I'm working on is based on a compulsive gambler. So I've been watching like a lot of like anything to do with Vegas, like gambling.
Doing your research.
Yeah. I recently saw Death of a Salesman. And
Popular one.
I was really touched by that, especially like going back to being a professional and working in corporate America for so long. It sometimes feels like the death of a banker. You know what I mean? It's like, am I going to die doing this and having done this like my whole life, basically? So that kind of hit home. But I like when things hit home like that because it like shakes me up inside. It's like reminds me why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like you say, you were zooming off the other day before your little flip, but you were like, we keep doing the hard work. Somebody's got to do it.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it is hard work and somebody does have to do it. And I'm up for the challenge right now to do it. But yeah, so Death of a Salesman was really cool. And I've been really on this Marilyn Monroe thing, watching a lot about her. I don't know if it's got to do with like the release of like some of those like confidential papers about like Marilyn Monroe's death or like the Kennedys. I don't know. But like it's crazy because like
Ruse is gonna be doing some Googling after this is
yeah,
over.
like it's crazy because like I've watched some documentaries and they say she had like a crazy affair.
I've heard
with like
I've bits
both
and
of
pieces.
the Kennedys.
Yeah, both of the Kennedys. She had a crazy affair. Some drugs are involved somehow. I'm pretty sure drugs are involved somehow.
Yeah, well, she was taking a lot of different things
Yeah.
like uppers to wake up and downers to go to sleep and all that. But yeah, there's some pretty interesting documentaries out there, and I found myself watching a few of her old films, like Some Like It Hot, and like I said, 7 Year Itch.
There aren't a whole lot, are there? Like, not
There are more than you think.
Marilyn Monroe.
There's quite a few Marilyn Monroe movies because she was under contract with them, so
Okay.
she had to sort of keep cranking them out for a while. But I mean, I'd venture to say I think there's like at least 10.
Yeah. Okay. Marilyn Monroe in her prime.
Yeah.
The golden days. What would that be? Like the 60s, right? Because it was JFK, right?
She died in like 62, but so yeah, her heyday was like the 50s.
Wow, late 50s, early 60s, and then boom, no more Marilyn
Early
Monroe.
50s too. I mean, like for like 10 years, she was really making some great movies.
Wow.
Yeah.
The movie industry has changed so much since then.
I know.
It doesn't even make sense. Like, it's actually a whole different thing. Like, when you look at, like, the way, like, classic movies, even the way that they were made, like, the way that people would come together to make, the process of doing that was so different. Yeah. I don't know I wonder when that all really shifts. Because it always was in LA. That's where it was established. But I feel like there's probably, like, the industry must just become so much more commercialized from, like, maybe, like, the 70s to the 90s, like, somewhere in there. Because once it's like the 90s onward, I think it's all pretty well established. Like Hollywood has been very, but I don't know if it was always like that. I feel like movies used to be a little bit, like even the intent of a movie in the 50s was so different. It wasn't so commercial. It wasn't so, it was just kind of an artsy thing. A lot of that stuff. I need to dive more into old movies you're making me think about. The ones I've seen, I feel like it's really just I've seen a decent amount of Audrey Hepburn movies, and that's probably most of it. I remember I did watch a lot of The Twilight Zone. I watched a lot of that show when I was younger, which is like the classic episodes.
You should. I mean, there's just so many out there. I could send you some. I'll send you some some recommendations. But no, there's plenty out there. I normally find myself like reading an article about somebody and then I'm like, oh, let's look at, and then I find my way to other people. But
yeah, because there's always something else too.
Yeah.
It's like a web of things.
Yeah, and now with the frickin' internet, it's just like, what rabbit hole do you want to take yourself down?
It's actually dangerous. It's a dangerous thing because I could spend all day and all night going down different separate rabbit holes.
Right.
I know I could.
It's dangerous.
It is.
But I wanted to ask you, so what do you think your superpower is?
My superpower is to bring out the best in others. And I can't explain how I do it or how it happens, but it's just what I do. And it's what I was sent to this earth to do. And I don't even, sometimes I'll take my powers for granted and I'll like forget that that's what I'm capable of doing, or I'll be my own biggest critic and I'll talk shit to myself. But it's like what I said earlier about like how I must just have magic in me because every time I go out there, it just works. It's the same thing with this podcast. Like I used to do interviews, and when I started doing those, it was just because like it was a thing I realized, oh, like this would be a smart thing, be a fun thing for me to do. Because it's like, it was at practice for editing videos. It was called 60 Seconds with. So I would film a whole interview and I would cut it down to 60 seconds, which actually that comes in handy so much with editing clips for this podcast because I can take us talk about whatever for 3 minutes and turn that into a 30-second clip. That comes in handy.
I bet.
But I mean, that's where it all kind of starts. And then I realized through doing that, I would bring out a certain part of a person through the interview. Just through me showing up and being who I am, I will pull something out of that person. And that's a superpower. That's something that I can do that not everybody else can do. And like one day when I was on mushrooms, I remember it hit me so hard. I just like couldn't unsee it. And it's like, oh, that's what my purpose is. Like I was sent to this earth to like shine my light onto other people because I'm capable of that. I can do that. And if I don't do that, every moment I spend not doing that, I'm like wasting it. Because it's like, you would think that something like this sounds like crazy talk if I didn't actually do that. But I do it every time, like, and so it really, being able to do that is my superpower, and I try to utilize it as much as possible. Every time I step onto the stage, I dazzle the people. I'm a professional mind blower. I wish I was wearing the shirt. You are too, folks. And that's usually what I try to say too, is like, if you like anything that I do or you enjoy the things that anybody does, that just means that you're capable of great things too. And you just see something you want in yourself in them, and like you can learn from when people do that. And I think what makes me that way, like what makes me achieve that, is that I just am cool with whatever, and I let people do whatever, and I think that's what it is. I don't know. I don't know. Again, I got the magic in me. I can't explain it. I don't know how it works. But there's like, I think a lot of people just take shit too serious, and I think people have like a motive behind things too often. Like they're always worried about something else, or they're anxious, and they're creating some anxiety in their brain for some reason. There are a million reasons. But like if you're trying to like do interviews and interact and network with people, you just have to be yourself and just be open with people and not think about any of that stuff. And so I think ultimately that's probably the secret. It's just not doing that. Because I'll have people say like, someone told me, I wish I could remember who it was, but they said like when they were watching me on stage, it's like, don't you wish like as a comedian you could be that loose? I think it was Jake Edgar who said that to me. He said it to someone else. Like, don't you wish you could be that loose as a comedian? Which is interesting because like I am just like going up there and doing whatever. I'm just being loose. But it is true because you'll see some comedians who are looser than other comedians too, who are more comfortable on a stage. But I think it's all like leading by example, and it's all just being yourself. And really it all boils down to that. Like all anybody wants is to just be confident and just be yourself and not have that, whatever that is that stops you and locks you up. And again, like all you can do is just do that hard work because no one else is going to do it. Mm-hmm. You got to go out there and just do whatever you do and show people. You have to constantly prove it. Like that is what it is. I think comedy kind of instills that in you in a nice way. Like the open mics and all of that. You will always get better if you always do it. Mm-hmm. But it's like that with everything, And so, that's my superpower. That's what I think it is bringing. Because the thing is too, like I don't think a lot of people would even think to do that, to try to highlight other people and bring other people up. And I think there's something that's naturally great about that too. Like giving to the universe will give back to you in ways you could never comprehend. Like in the moment now, you don't realize it. Yeah. But through producing shows, like I'm sure you've had this happen in small ways where it's like you'll put together this show and just seeing the reaction and seeing all those people there and knowing you created this moment. And that's like a place in time that couldn't exist without you. There's something so gratifying about that. It like puts your existence in perspective in this strange way, That's it's one reason I love to do. And then most people wouldn't think that. Most people don't think that way. They're not trying to do that. They're just trying to advance whatever they're doing. So like it's cool to be that person. Like you should embrace that. If you're the person that likes making shows and likes bringing people together. Yeah. I want to find a way to wiggle my way in and produce shows somehow. But I think if I'm not a comedian, I'm going to have a hard time doing that. Maybe they'll just let me do it. Maybe if I get the cool kid pass, if they all know I'm cool, I'll be able to do it. Because I think, I like doing it. And through doing this, I meet enough comedians anyway. Yeah. So, but
you could always, if you want to MC a show, and you know what I mean? That's what I would do for like, just pick a venue and MC it, and you pick the comedians, and then you just like host it. MC
a show. Is it the same? It's basically the same thing as producing, right? It's the same.
Yeah, you could just like be the person that brings people up, and you could like do your like rapping in between.
I know, just like do a little freestyle.
Yeah, because normally a comedian would just like make little jokes, like warm up with jokes, then do maybe little jokes in between introducing people. You can just rap.
That's funny. That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all. If I just rapped in between everybody's set.
Yeah, and you can obviously riff. So
exactly. I would
be
just
sick.
Rap like two things from their set.
Yeah. But anyway,
I like that.
I think that's a really good idea. And like that's something you could totally just like take the bull by the horn and do.
Yeah, yeah. Because even with what I'm saying about like most people wouldn't do that, be the person that brings people together. Most people also wouldn't be like the rapper comedian guy. So I need to take advantage of that. Like I want to do more with that. Because if I can create more opportunities for comedians, even doing something like that, that would be cool to give back to that community in a way other than doing this. Like, because I like doing it, know. Ron Bloom, are you familiar with him at all?
I know I've seen him before. I met him before, but I have not seen him, I think, in quite some time. I think I only met him like maybe once.
He just has glowing reviews, that guy. Every time like someone brings him up, they're always talking about how nice he is. And I've had him on the show once. He's great. But he does like produce shows too. And I think like he does this one thing called Laughs for Ladies of Laughter, and it's like an all-female comic show because he's saying like, you know, a lot of female comics out here, it's like, you know, they do get treated differently, so it's hard for them to like have their own thing, you know. So he's trying to create like a thing for that, which is cool, yeah. Especially considering he's a dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's a great guy. I would highly recommend, because I mean, just even connecting with him, being you, because I think he's told me he's in some group chat with a bunch of producers, like him and a bunch of other producers. They all know each other, and when somebody's in town, they'll let everybody else know in the group chat, because really, it's the same thing we're saying. Like, one of you wins, then everybody wins.
Cool.
You just want to play with everybody, yeah. Because, I mean, really, again, like, in the end, that should be the philosophy, right? I think that's the winning way to think about life, is like, how can I contribute as much as I can to other people in a way that'll come back to me in the end, you know? Because then a lot of that is just, and in the end, is just being nice and being a good friend and, like, helping people when they need it and, like, doing what you can. I mean, and it could be anything, you know? Could be calling your mom. That could be being a good person for today. Could be anything. Yeah. I mean, is there anything we didn't touch on with your shows you put together? Because I want to make sure, like, there's not a thing. I do want to ask you more about movies. That's what I want to make sure to ask you about. Because you say that you're really interested in movies, and so like
making movies.
But you've always been a fan of movies, right? Yeah. Because I was gonna say, like, do you
documentaries, movies?
Yeah, you've always watched them though, like since being a kid. Like, you just watch movies growing up.
Yeah, and SNL too. Like, that's another thing. If there wasn't a movie that we were watching SNL together as a family.
Yeah.
You know? So I grew up, and earlier we were talking about comedians that turned into, you know, major actors. I think back to like the 70s, like Gilda Radner.
Oh, wow.
She was a wonderful, hilarious woman, and she went on to make movies. Of course, her life ended too soon. She passed away kind of earlier in life, but nonetheless, she was a awesome actress. And then I think about like Kristen Wiig too. Like, Kristen Wiig is so funny, and she got her start on SNL.
Yeah.
And look at what she's went on to do. And there's so many examples, but my whole life with my family, we would watch a lot of SNL. And then, of course, movies, just like the classics that a lot of people watched. But then there was some movies, like, we couldn't get our hands on movies as easily back then, you know, in the 80s. So it was like, you might watch the same movie over and over because you had it in the house, you know?
Yeah.
We did watch a lot of movies. And that's just a big part of what I see myself doing the rest of my life, I hope, but really these next like 10 years, like, I want to make a bunch of movies. And
when you say make movies, do you see like yourself as the director of the movie, like the ultimate like figurehead behind the movie? Like, what's your role in that process?
No, maybe eventually, but right now I see myself as writing, producing, acting, a lot of producing, like a lot of just ideas that I want to put out there. Like, I know I can.
Yeah.
But first things first, and I'm, like you said, back to what we're doing now. It's like Coming Up Comic, Comedy and Caviar, and then catch me live when you can, and book me on your rap show. But yeah, I am just out there doing my thing, but there's a lot of things popping in this new year. But right now, as far as popping goes, I need to use the restroom.
All right.
But yeah, this has been really cool, like, to chat with you and talk life, and you just kind of popped up on the scene for me one day, and it's cool because I've seen you interviewing a lot of my really good friends, a lot of really cool people, and you're out there doing the hard work too. So I commend you and appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. Thank you very much. Is this the ending? Is this the ending of our podcast? Is this how we wrap it up? Is this what it is? Because if it is, I'll say, first of all, yes, thank you very much for that support. Thank you for all the support you ever give me. I appreciate you. I always notice those little things. I'm always like, oh, she liked my story. How sweet. People are showing me love. Because the thing is, like, again, like I told you already, my whole thing really is I just want to try to pull as many people in as I can. And like, I think I've been able to achieve that in this short period of time when you have seen me in Onward and before that, but continuing here, moving forward too. I'm trying to get as many people as I can on this show. I'm trying to do an episode every 3 days if I can.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as this thing really makes money, I can take it off because then I can just, I can actually expand. Right now, I'm working with the day job, folks, okay? Like, that's my excuse for not having anything more than what you're seeing right here, all right? Pretty soon, there's going to be a guy over there typing things, and it's going to be really high-tech and crazy. But, I mean, yeah, it's just, I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate anybody noticing what's going on over here because in the end, it's not even about me. It's about showcasing the beautiful talents of all the people in the world. And, you know, I think that's one thing that you do as well in a beautiful way. I think you're doing it with your podcast. I think you're doing it with the shows you put together. I think if you can, like with that thing I was saying about being my superpower, you know, putting people, bringing out the best in people. I think if you can do that, if you can elevate people and put them in a certain position, if you do it right, they can shine and they will always remember you for it and be thankful for it. And it really speaks volumes about who you are, but also like what you can do and like the freedom we have. Yeah.
That's really sweet and inspirational. And sometimes it is hard to look at things that way, and so I appreciate you saying that because sometimes it is like, what am I doing this for? But I do appreciate your kind words, and it is about highlighting other people, and that's really what Coming Up Comic comes from, is my love of comedians and the comedians I've met in Chicago.
And like the wisdom they can provide too. Like through a great conversation, you can learn so much from those people. And you know, if you can get that out of them, if you can pull it out of them, that's like a power you can utilize, you know?
Yeah.
So if you have it in you, by all means, continue, you know, it's
Amen.
That could be the thing. I mean, you got a decent amount of attention from that first video. Like I was, because I think, I don't know, last time I checked, it was at least like 250, but like 250 views is not nothing. Like that's a decent amount for a first episode. That's great. I was impressed because you're just coming out the gate.
Thank you.
Dude. 250 on here, I'm working, okay? I'm working hard for my 250s. He's said that for a year.
Yeah.
I didn't, he does a podcast too, right? Joseph does.
Joe Kilgallen, yeah.
What is his called?
It's called Let's Get Dumb. It's a Let's Get Dumb podcast with Jonah Jerkins.
And I imagine a lot of people probably have found him through that, right? How long has he been doing that for? Do you know?
I don't know how long he's been doing that. Before that, he was doing another podcast called like Joe Kilgallen's Pub, like out of his home.
Good for him.
Yeah, which was pretty cool. But I'm not sure how long he's been doing this newer podcast, but he's out there quite a bit on the scene. You know, he's traveling, doing comedy. He's doing his podcast. He's a regular at CYSK, Comedians You Should Know. So, but he's a Northwest Side guy, and we go to the same local bar, and so he's become a good buddy of mine, and it was very cool that he did my first podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
And like I said, he got me that free Italian beef at Jay's Beef.
So, I mean, how can you hate on some guy like that?
Yeah, give me that beef.
And with that being said, folks, Ruse Radio, clocking out. Been too long, I don't think I could face it. In the corner with my mask on. What's the story? It did do no good to